Susan Kamau. As Michael
Sorry,
has
Susan.
said, it's okay, not a problem, Eric. So as Michael has said, I'm a project lead at USUDI, and we help companies, let me say, as a recruiter, I help companies build high performing teams. So that's a story for another day. Today, we are here to talk about the best platforms, which is one of those very, I'd say, almost like emotional topics, because, you know, like you've applied for so many jobs, like you can count how many platforms you've been on JobMag, you've been on LinkedIn, you know, you've been on Fuzu, you've been on Writer Monday. I myself, I think I have, I don't know how many accounts before you see this is Academy, a million accounts in very many platforms. So there are quite a number. And you know, it's very interesting to have a session where we can perhaps pinpoint one that is the best. But let's see how the presentation goes. If you're gonna, let me just go into sharing my screen so that we begin. So thumbs up once you can see my screen. Yes, I think it's there now. You can see my screen? Awesome. So,
yes, we can see it.
So let's just get into it. So I've done like putting details on who I am and what I'm passionate about in my presentations, but I've also put in a question here that I'd like to engage you guys on. So what are some of the platforms you're on? What do you frequent most? Like just the first one that you think of when you think of I'm applying for a job, where do you go? And then do you think it's the best, and why do you think it's the best? So I'll give only one person first for now to give me a response to that. The rest of us can be typing on chat. Anyone who's the first, what's platform you go to when you want to apply for a job? You can also leave your comment on chat, yes. Right, Amanda, Michael, okay. Any other response? Just one more. Link, Eric, LinkedIn. Okay. One more, just one more. Oh, okay. So my job mag does have something. Okay. So as those come in, let me move forward to the next slide, which is like the meat of the whole presentation. Think like a hiring manager. So you want to fill a position in your company and you're looking for someone. What's the first thing a hiring manager will do? The first thing they'll do is they'll look internally. They'll try to figure out, who do I have in the team who can do this work? Who do I have in the team who I can train? So when working with hiring managers, I realized they do not hire because they want to pay someone. They hire because they don't know everything. So when they're looking for someone, they're looking for someone who can complement them or at least give them information that they do not have. So if I am having an open position in my company, for instance, USUDI or even 4BM in the core team that are actually like full-timers in the team, you'll realize that what becomes easy for a hiring manager is to look internally. So it's to look at someone who already understands what they do and then train them into what they want them to achieve in that role. So that's one area. You, as someone who's looking for a job, you probably have 0% chance of getting a job if they decide to take someone internally. The second thing they do is they look for referrals. So as a hiring manager, I'll be calling my fellow CEOs and telling them, I have an open role for technical lead. I need another technical lead. I need a technical lead strong in this and this. Do you know anyone? Have you tried hiring for such a role before? And such questions. So it ends up being that I most likely will get someone from the people I know. As a HR, if I'm a HR at Domino's, I will rather call the HR that I know who's at Big Square and tell them I'm looking for branch managers, or the HR that I know who's at Java, I'm looking for branch managers. Do you have anyone who has left the company recently who, you know, because at the end of the day, when I get a referral, what happens is I can validate that what they're coming to do in my company, I can validate it through someone else's testimony. So that's the second thing I do. So you, as someone who's looking for a job, what helps you in this case is if you're networking. So I have a friend who got the job that he has now because he interviewed for a role. And then when that particular recruiter he was interviewing with was told about the open job that this candidate now has, he said, I interviewed someone who I think can do this job. So what happens usually if you have the right networks is when the hiring manager is calling other CEOs or other HRs or other recruiters, they end up mentioning your name. So number one, attend as many interviews as possible. Now I know you're wondering, how do I get the interviews? That's probably something we are still responding to. And number two, just link up network, which is again something we will talk about later in the presentation. And the other thing, now, number one, I look internally. Number two, I will look for referrals. Number three, as a hiring manager, if I'm stuck, if none of the first two work, I advertise. So I go into where else can I get talent? Now, usually, if I advertise for a role, it is either specific to the person I'm looking because I've find this person. Not this person is not within my networks. This person is not in my company, so I need someone who is either good at something, like I don't have it, or number two, I'm advertising because it's entry level. I need someone who I can train. Either way, I won't be paying them too much. So two roles that will be filled most likely by advertising if it was entry level, or if it was a role that is high level, or if the current hiring need of the company needs someone who is good in finance, for instance, and internally they do not have such a person. So two roles that are filled, like I've said, is that and the advertising. So you as a candidate, what gives you the advantage when you're thinking about advertisements? So it's definitely what we are about to talk about, which is the applications. So it means you need to have a really good CV that is easy to check out on the applicant tracking systems. Now, applicant tracking system is something we already talked about in a previous webinar, but it's something I'd want you guys to Google a lot about or to research on, or even ask for BM. At some point, you guys can do a session on applicant tracking systems. If I could, I would present like a screen of what we do here at USUD on the applicant tracking system. There's literally an icon for checking CVs for specific keywords, and then recommend people to me. So again, remember, the hiring manager has only advertised because they can't find this person on their own. Number two, because they want the best person. And clearly the networks do not have that person. So they need this advert to go out. So usually, even when it comes to advertising, what happens is a hiring manager will call a company like Fuzu, I think also Brighter, and maybe LinkedIn, not quite LinkedIn, but Fuzu Brighter Monday. They'll call them. Fuzu has a whole team that literally looks through CVs, and they have a function where they can give companies a list of, they can be given a target. So they can decide, give me a list of 10 CVs of people in your platform who you think are qualified for ABCD. So when a hiring manager is advertising, yes, they put the ad on Brighter Monday, so you're applying. Yes, they put the ad on Fuzu, so you're applying. Yes, they put it on LinkedIn. You're the online applicant, you went to apply. But if you do not have the right keywords and all, even the recruiter in that system was contacted to find relevant CVs may not find you. So there's also that extent, like I'm still, again, as a hiring manager looking for the best, so I'll go the mile. When I get a recruiter, at this stage, the hiring manager is completely stuck. They've tried advertising, they've tried as much as they can to also get from their networks, and they're not getting the person they want. So it will probably be a niche role. It will probably be a role that not everyone can fill. So that's still inclined to applications, but also headhunting. Headhunting is when I go on to LinkedIn and find people who have worked for competitor companies and such things. So that's part of recruiting. Again, as we are trying to think like the hiring manager is still again trying to get the best. So if you find a picky hiring manager at this stage, they were looking for the best. So given these four things, as a candidate looking for a job, what are some of the best platforms to go to? So I'll only cover two because these two I've interacted with. I can validate what they do, and I can tell you that they are good, especially the fact that we are in Kenya. So yes, we have Brighter Monday. Yes, we have My Job Mag. It's good to use a platform like My Job Mag to look for the open opportunities look for the companies, and then continue to finding the company's website, finding whether they advertised the job on the website, and also finding the LinkedIn page of the company, finding whether they advertise the job on LinkedIn. If I post a job on my job mag, I definitely want visibility, but I will redirect you to an outside ATS, an applicant tracking system again. Yeah. So let's talk about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a platform that allows you to have a very good profile as a candidate. LinkedIn can literally, you can convert your profile on LinkedIn into a CV. Very good one. I don't complain when I get LinkedIn CVs. I just need a bit of meat, like of achievements and all, but I don't mind. So LinkedIn is a good resource. Number one, they give you access to LinkedIn Learning. They give you access to a lot of, I don't know what to call them, like subheadings of sorts. They already like, it's like you're populating your CV without needing to pay some Novo app or some other app online that can give you a good CV, of which I don't discredit that. I don't discourage that. Do it if you can. But if you can get your CV through LinkedIn, it's okay. It works. So you have the advantage of the resources, you have the advantage of it's a free platform, you have the advantage of all the subheadings, like the volunteering experience, the work, the education, I don't, you can check, you can explore, and you can create a very rich profile on LinkedIn. Number two, you can connect with anyone. LinkedIn does not limit you to do that. You can connect with any really good industry players in the particular industries you want. LinkedIn groups is such a huge resource that I don't think we have explored. At some point, I was looking for someone with agribusiness experience. And this agribusiness means they're farmers, meaning they're literally not on social media. But LinkedIn has groups like Facebook, where you can actually find like a group of farmers in agribusiness or people who export import type of groups. So there are industry focused groups on LinkedIn that you can join in order to like meet the people that you need to in that industry. And then the other thing that you can do in those groups, you can find jobs, because recruiters join the groups to advertise jobs. That's another thing. Then LinkedIn, you can use it to research companies. You can literally access the HR people of companies through LinkedIn. You can access the recruiters, you can access the CEOs. I keep saying the responses on LinkedIn are underwhelming. Literally, CEOs will respond to you. So try it. Don't avoid it. You can view job posters. So usually with LinkedIn, when I post a job, it allows me to put my profile as the one who posted the job or the one who's hiring for the job. So what that means is you can literally send me a direct message and tell me I'm interested in the job, I've applied for it. I have this and this qualification. So what happens when a candidate goes the extra mile and really sends a very thoughtful message, something that is out of the box, because LinkedIn already has a template. So if I see a LinkedIn template you reached out to me and you have a LinkedIn template, I may ignore it. So you can even say something on the heading, something very weird, like a note from Susan, for instance. I remember I got one like that and I was so intrigued. I had to read as much as the candidate was not qualified. And of course, now I also mentioned that to them. So there is also the advantage of viewing job posters and reaching out to them. So telling them you are qualified, you think you are qualified because of ABCD. And then the other thing I know that I haven't put here is LinkedIn is an international platform. So you have access to people or companies that are out of Kenya. You can apply for remote jobs. It's just that international coverage that still gives you a lot of visibility if you build your network. So the best practices I've said just now, build a network, which can be intentional, and we'll talk about it in the next slide. My God, a photo, guys, a photo. So it's okay to have a blank photo. I don't mind blank photos with really good profiles, but if you put for me a photo of a plant on your profile photo on LinkedIn, I may think you're not a serious person. If you put photo of 3 people, you and your children, on your LinkedIn profile photo, that's the end of a headhunting recruiter picking you out. Because what happens is there are a lot of biases. I always say recruiters are biased. We are very judgmental, as typical of every human. So please if you need to have a photo, please have something that is good, that can be good for a company. Then always update your LinkedIn. So don't have a LinkedIn that, okay, I may not use that, but always update your LinkedIn, keep up to date. I would say use LinkedIn in the way that you would use Instagram, not in terms of posting, but in terms of keeping up the trends and updating your LinkedIn. So it means if you followed the right groups, then the right feed, you'll be having the right feed, so you'll be able to like see some, like, it actually becomes entertaining to scroll over LinkedIn. Honestly, it can become an Instagram for you if you build the right network. So that's LinkedIn that I would, if you give me a board of JobMag, um LinkedIn, Brighter Monday, Fuzu, LinkedIn is the best place to be. I would recommend it any day, anytime. Now Fuzu is the second platform I've talked about because it's a partner company that we work with. So I know to some extent what they do internally. So I've mentioned this earlier in the call that usually sometimes hiring teams, when a hiring manager has advertised a role, if they don't want a recruiter hands-on in the role, they may request a platform to give them like a list of maybe 20 CVs or something. They work with a target and then the platform goes into the profiles they have and look for those people. So if you have a profile on Fuzu, what will happen is the recruiter who has been assigned the task, they have a target of get 20 CVs. They will use some of the Fuzu filters to get to people who are qualified. So it will be important for you to have a really good profile on Fuzu. And any other platform, like I've noticed also Career Connections they have a way of recommending jobs to you if you have a good platform and you set it up in a way that they know that these are the jobs you're interested in. So they can recommend jobs to you, but Fuzu has the advantage of actually having recruiters headhunt on the platform, including us here at Yusudi. We also headhunt on Fuzu. So it's something that you guys can think of, creating a good profile on Fuzu and updating that as well. So recruiters will reach out to you if they feel like your profile matches a JD. That's true. The other thing with Fuzu, and okay, I wouldn't say so for all platforms. It is important definitely to be amongst the first to apply. I'm not sure how Fuzu works in terms of like the ATS and those functions of recommending the best candidates for you. But I will say whether you're the first or amongst the last to apply for a job, as long as you customized your CV to what the JD is looking for, and the JD is key because the JD has all the keywords that you need to apply correctly for the job. Then you have visibility on the applicant tracking system, which is the first platform that interacts with your CV, which means that you may have audience of the recruiter. Now, let's talk about what you need to do. We've talked about two platforms, Fuzo, LinkedIn. I've also talked to you about the process of a hiring manager when they're thinking of hiring for a job, just so that you know. So now what do you do? So we always have this running joke, you get that 70% of jobs are filled through networking. That is true. And I'll tell you for a fact, even the people at Yusudi, I have a photo in the next slide. The people at Yusudi, no, let me not use that. I'm not sure about the right stats, but many of us are here because we went through the academy and then we ended up getting placement inside Yusudi. If not, we went through, we were headhunted. So the headhunting, again, I mentioned before, a role that is filled by advertising is if it is a role that needs a certain level of experience. So headhunting means internally, the hiring manager could not find. From the networks, they couldn't find. So they looked through LinkedIn on other companies. And we were able to find, like they were able to find someone who was either, headhunted by LinkedIn. So that's a different story. But now you as someone who's looking for a job, what do you do? So I've split it into three. 30% of your time, I'd want you to spend that time on applications, on job boards. And then I've also included if you meet 70% of criteria. So I remember the last time we were still talking about, do I need to apply for jobs if I don't qualify? I would say don't waste your time. Because I've said, number one, if I've advertised, I'm looking for the best. Yeah. So if I'm looking for the best, it means I will not be lenient. And if I'm paying a recruiter to give me a list of 20 CVs, again, I will not be lenient, So I'm talking now as a hiring manager. So if you're spending time on applications on job boards, try and check whether you meet part of the criteria. Even if you have 2 years, they've asked for 5 years, but you've done much of what the role needs, or at least a three-quarter of what the role needs, please apply. And remember the applicant tracking system. Remember to customize your CV. So this is important. Always apply. But this is, again, it's sort of like a blind ad. You really never know whether you'll get a job. So what else can you do? So 30% of your time, you can start talking to companies who represent you. So I had the introduction of 4BM, and I thought, actually, 4BM really does this well. So 4BM represents candidates. This is a platform where you as a candidate are able to get information on how to do a good cover letter, information on how to do a good CV. These are people who are giving you jobs. These are people who are talking to the hiring managers. So like Yusudi in our recruitment team, we really do well with like helping people with interview preps, helping you, like literally we even talk about how do you dress for that interview. So those small things when you're heading towards an interview, but for us, it's not open book. It's only done for candidates who are qualified for the roles and have been called to interview. For 4BM, they have free webinars where you can come and just get such information. So talk to companies. I've used the word who represent you as a candidate. Talk to shortlist, talk to the room, talk to career connections, talk to people who are out there trying to make candidates their best selves when they go for interviews. So find these people. They will be the ones to connect you to jobs. They'll be the ones to say, I know someone who is good in that. And I think even if it's entry level, this person can get it done. So these are the people to talk to. Now, the other 30% of your time, I want you to spend it on networking and information on interviews. The information on interviews can be quite overwhelming because you'll be told a lot of things by many people, but it's still important, especially through the platforms, the 4BM. You do the recruitment, I won't put it under the platforms, but a platform like 4BM, use these spaces to learn about interviews. What do you need to do? Like the small things, honestly, it makes a huge difference when the interviews come. And even the interviews as they come, they keep improving how you approach them. The networking bit is very important. So we talked about how a hiring manager calls fellow CEOs and asks them whether they've hired for such a role before and things like that. How a HR calls other HRs and finds out if they've known people who are doing what they are looking for. So this networking is what will help you. So if you've gone onto LinkedIn, you have a profile, you already have, you've created the profile, you're still building it as you go. You can think of 10 companies you want to work for. So I'm good in SPSS, I'm good in stats, I'm an applied statistics person. I can think of 10 companies that I want to work with. And some of this information you can get from specialists at 4BM or at Shortlist or at the room and such places. So get your 10 companies, look for the HRs, look for the recruiters, talk to them, connect to them, and then attend events if you can. Oh, can you guys see the end of my, yes, now you can. Attend events, sorry, attend events if you can. So if Safaricom has an event, just make time and go. If it's a free event, do attend. It makes a huge difference. You've seen people who have a board written, I am so and so this age, I have this degree, this diploma, I'm looking for a job. Some of those people get jobs faster than you, the one who is sitting behind a computer trying to apply for a million jobs. Yeah, so that networking bit, although that's a bit extreme, but it's that networking bit that gets you there. So those are three things I want you to spend a lot of time. So I wanted to talk about three things that Yusudi does, these three platforms that can help you interact or rather expand your network. So Yusudi has Yusudi Sales Academy. We also have Africa Sales Community. The two that I want to talk about is the community and the women in sales. The academy is something I think I'm an alumni of, but my call is best placed to like give details on that if you need it. But when it comes to our community and our women in sales, these are platforms where we've created a space where people with experience in sales and people without can interact with other people who have experience, or other people who are in different industries, or other people who have the same interest. So like on our platform on Africa Sales Community, it sort of works the same way as LinkedIn World, but you get the chance to like chat them, you get webinars, you get, now as we keep building, it will grow. But for now, the platform sort of works like LinkedIn. And then the other thing with being part of such a platform is when me as a recruiter I am posting a job, I will most likely post it there first. I'll post it on the career site, then I'll share it on the system through the community, and then now I will move forward to post it on our page and things like that. So it gives you the access to people who you will not necessarily have access to, which is what we are trying to drive. Women in Sales is another platform as well, and all these pages are on LinkedIn, so you can always find our details there. So I've left some information on how quickly you can get in touch with us. But I do hope that the insights shared, as much as we've talked about only 2 platforms, have helped you think from the angle of the hiring manager down to the angle of what you need to do in order to still have visibility from them. So that's the end of the presentation, and I think I can take questions now.
Thank you, Susan, for that wonderful presentation. It was actually very informative. Yeah, so there's actually a question on the chat. Somebody is asking, what is the best time to send an application? Scenario, if the deadline for application is on 9th February 2023, is it advisable to send the application on the deadline day?
Yes, it's okay to send an application on the deadline day. It's also okay if the link is open to send an application after the deadline day. Surprisingly, about, I don't remember the stat, but I was reading it this morning that 75, I think about 56, I don't remember the stat, of jobs are open after the deadline day. So a month after the deadline day or so, they remain open. Usually what happens is I've either offered and the candidate was countered by the where they're working. Something happened, but the job is still open. So if you find that the link is still open, just send it and it's okay. Send it and it's okay, but create, there's a way you need to make noise about it. Again, look for the HR or the link recruiter, and just send them a message and tell them, yeah, I applied for this. I know it is out, like it's already done, but I'd want to be considered if such positions open within your company. Yeah, so please do apply.
Okay. Number of people are saying the position was very good. So guys, okay, then how do these recruitment agency avoid bias? Morgan is asking that.
All right. So now recruitment agencies, you're talking about like Kisudi recruitment, shortlist, career connection, search agencies.
Yes, yes.
Okay, let me respond. Yeah. So let me respond. Okay, let me respond to do with now search platforms. So how we avoid bias. Remember the role out of, we went through how a hiring manager thinks. So out of all the 4, it came to us because the hiring manager was specific. So the bias, the way for us to avoid bias is already, we probably have 1, 2, 3 non-negotiables. So when I look at a CV and those 3 things are not there, it's like it's done for. That is not being considered. So that's my way of avoiding bias as a recruiter, because when it came to me, it came with very strict guidelines. I want someone who is age 32, and it's not easy to accept that a hiring team may come to us and say they want someone at a certain age, but it does happen because of maybe the dynamics of the industry, because of many other things. So some things are not necessarily biased, but if it was specified and I know I can find it in the market, then that's what I'll go for. So that should help you answer. Recruiters are dealing under very tight rules. They will always have like non-negotiables, and they're not biased.
Okay, thank you for that. Somebody is asking, kindly refresh the platform LinkedIn. The other one was, I think
Fuzu.
the other one was Fuzu, yeah?
Yeah, Fuzu. Fuzu.
Okay. Somebody is asking for tips for email applications.
Tips for email applications. Email applications. Email applications. Well, personally, I do not like email applications. But if you do send an email application, definitely take care of the small things. Your subject needs to be specific to the role you're applying for. Your body needs to have an actual cover letter. So the way you would do a cover letter, put it on the body of the email, not on a letter attached. So put that on the body of the email, and it's catchy and it's a whole topic like how to write good cover letters, but write something that introduces you, gives you a grand entrance on the body, and then attach a CV in PDF. Never do Word. Oh my God, Word will shame you. It will go and change format on the other side of the email when it is being downloaded or when it is being uploaded to an ATS. So avoid Word at all costs. So number one, subject. Number two, a good cover letter in the body. Do not avoid or do not leave the cover letter out of it. Mention something like, I have gone through the company's website. Something like that makes me know that you've gone the extra mile. So do a good cover letter and then attach a PDF, and we will respond.
Yeah, and maybe also to add on email applications, I think when you're doing an email application, always begin with attachments. Start with the attachments. If it's a cover letter and a CV, do that attachment first. That is when you do the body and the subject. Because in most cases, you might do the body and click send, then it goes without any attachment, but you had already written find attached. And actually, even Google reminded you that you haven't attached, but you still sent the application without doing an attachment, and yet you said you're very keen to detail, but you did it. So always do an attachment first. Yeah. So somebody's also asking, many job applications requires many years of experience. Is this one suitable for people who are looking for entry-level jobs?
So I've said number 3 or number 4 reason why, or number 3, or rather the reason why a hiring manager advertised is because they felt like either number 1, it was an entry-level job, or number 2, it was too specialized or niche. So I believe for entry-level jobs, you will find them advertised and you do stand a chance of being employed or being considered for the role, because they're not really looking for a lot. Like for us interns, we got them through applications. So that's something that you can find as an entry-level person. Now, when you're thinking, I'm struggling, so I'm stuck as an entry-level person, I'm not getting jobs. Now, focus on these other 2 things that we talked about. Go into networking, which is go into now finding the 10 companies you want to work for, find the recruiters, link up with them, follow these companies. The follow button on LinkedIn helps you because you see their activity, you see whether they need interns, whether they need such jobs. You can reach out to the hiring team via the message. Even the connect button on LinkedIn has a 300-word limit. You're not restricted to do that because it will open up the networking doors. It will open up the doors, those doors that you've been struggling to open. Yes, job openings have a lot of years of experience, but it's because when I was advertising as a hiring manager, I, number 1, did not get that person in my networks, or number 2, I did not have that person in my company. So I need someone who's very specific. So the years of experience make me feel safe to hire that person because I think they can bring something that I have struggled to find. So I hope that answers your question. So use other means and don't entirely depend on applications. But I'll tell you, for you, if you apply for those that are entry level, you have a higher chance of getting the job.
Okay, thank you. Somebody's asking, can we use Chat GPT to write an application letter?
ChatGPT. I'm not sure what that is.
ChatGPT is this platform that is an advanced Google. You just give it a question, then it.
Oh, I've had it.
Yes.
Okay.
It's an
Yeah, I use
AI
it.
that is it's an AI that is used to curate CVs and cover letters for someone, even
Mm.
articles.
Oh, I think
Something that is trending.
you can use it. Don't lie.
Yeah.
Use it because you don't necessarily know all the English in this world. So use it, get the right words, and then tailor make it to how you would say it, how Susan would say it. So use the words. I can tell you it will help you with the format, the words, and everything. Then now put in things that represent you so that it looks more like you.
Okay. Somebody's asking, I'm a bit confused in terms of the email body. I don't know
Email body.
what is trying to say.
Email body. So I will say, wow.
Oh, okay. Morgan, go ahead and try to elaborate. I'm seeing your answer up.
Hi.
Yes.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My question is kind of towards what Susan said in terms of attaching or writing a cover letter in the email body, and I was a bit confused because you find that some, or if not majority of the job adverts actually demand that you attach a cover letter and a CV. So is it advisable if you write the same in the email body, then attach it, or you write something different from the cover letter, then attach the cover letter from the email body? That was my question.
I wanted to see if I can find an example for you from my teams. Now, okay, so you're trying to make it very easy for the hiring manager to simply view your details, yeah? So what happens is if I have attachments, I have to download. So I have 200 emails to go through and I have attachments to download. So what I think is easy to do is to simply put in the cover letter on the body. So your usual cover letter, put it on the body. If you want to attach it, by the time I have read the first paragraph and to the second paragraph, it means I'm already interested. So you're thinking like a human being. If I did the first two paragraphs, it means you did well. You did a good cover letter. If I want to download it again, fine by you. But as long as you put it on the body, what happens is it makes it very, as a recruiter, as someone who's trying to fill this thing, I have a million applications to go through, and they all came through my email, not the ATS. It's instant. Now, when it comes to how applications are being curated lately, so what is happening is companies are now allowing you to enter the cover letter manually. I think I can show you one because I have one here that I can just present my screen quickly so you see this. Companies are actually allowing you to enter manually. So if you look at this, tell me, I think you can see my screen now. You can?
Yes, yes.
Yes, I can.
So you can see it's name, email, phone, date of birth. So remember, a hiring manager is advertising because they want the best. So if you want the best, you also want people who we usually call like passive candidates to apply for the job. So I'm removing as many things as possible for them to do, like I'm making the application process very easy for them. So if I want people who are really good at the job to just still apply as much as they have busy days, maybe you're on Upwork, maybe you're still doing other things, you have your own business to run and you need to apply for the job, then the easiest thing for me to do is just have very few entries. Now, of course, I don't like that they have education and it's not automated by uploading a CV, because adding education is just stress. But you see the cover letter is manually added. You can see that. So for most applicants or for most companies, they're moving into a system that allows you to put in the cover letter manually or attach it. So if you can attach it, if you already have it separately, well and good, not a problem. But when it comes to email applications, I'm not getting a good example. But if I do find one, I'll share it with you guys. I'd much rather you put the details of your experience, exactly what is usually within a cover letter on the body of the email, and then now attach your CV. If you want to attach the cover letter additionally, no problem. Did I respond to your question? I feel like I was still thinking about the other question. Morgan, I hope I responded. Okay, awesome. So I can see if I have 1 year internship experience, can I be considered for? Yes, you can. You can be considered. You can be considered. 2 years working experience is kidogo. Yes, you can be considered.
Sawa. The questions are over, and thank you, Susan, for that wonderful presentation. And it's always a pleasure having you. We hope to have you for a third time doing a different topic. Yeah. So Michael, maybe if you got something to close it up.
I don't have anything else to add. I'm just fascinated by the question that came up on GPT. I never expected to find that question come up here, but it's an interesting one because I also know of another point I was told where you can use the AI to actually get the keywords that the JD is looking for. So as you heard, Sue mentioned that you should write your CV to match the JD, and there are some keywords that are usually looked into by the recruiter. So that's another thing that I had. I don't know how true it is. You can go and research at your own time. Maybe it will help you, maybe it will not. Other than that, I'd like to thank everyone who attended this session. If you're interested in learning what we do at USODI, I'll just share the link below. If you're interested in the academy, you can click on that link, read on that page what it entails, and you can apply that form, and you'll be told on the next steps. With that, I'd give it back to Eric to close the session.
Yeah, thank you very much, Michael, and thank you once again, Susan. So guys, just go to all the platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and search for USODI and follow them so that you get to hear of the opportunities and the products and services they have to offer. Also do the same for Forgotten Bottom Millions 4BM on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and kindly follow us. Yeah. So guys, we meet again next week, same place, same time. We're going to have a different person tackling a different topic. For now, thank you very much for turning up. Thank you very much for our speaker. Thank you very much for USODI. It's always a pleasure having you. Yeah, so let's have a good evening and a good night. Thank you very much, everyone. The recording is going to be available on our YouTube channels and also I think USODI's YouTube channel. Bye, everyone.